Welcome, one and all, to the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast for our premium spirits review of the Glenlivet line. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, the Michael Jordan of podcasting himself, your king of extreme, Bill KOE, joined by my indomitable broadcast partners. We got first and foremost
the non-COPPA friendly Tony fucking G. Like, share, subscribe, folks.
And we are here with the
still unnamed
resident whiskey sommelier of the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, Jermz.
Howdy.
So,
all right, good night.
Welcome back, team.
We're not done?
No, we got some.
We've got a long way to go, actually.
Oh, yes, we do.
This is actually a long road. This is an uphill battle. But it's going to be a fun one.
Glenlivet. Oh my God.
Yeah,
this product line, these are all 50 milliliter bottles, which we've all three of us have kind of accumulated one way or another.
Yep.
We have the Glenlivet Founders Reserve.
Personal
single
favorite.
malt Scotch. I haven't had it. I'm looking forward to
right.
it. The Glenlivet 12-year single malt Scotch, double oak, matured in European oak and American oak casks.
That's kind of the standard.
I've had this. It's good.
I want to actually amend our order just a touch. I think we should go 12, then Founders.
Ooh, okay. I mean, that's fair considering that Glenlivet doesn't exactly know where to put Founders Reserve in its line. That's
pretty
fair.
much.
The Glenlivet single malt Scotch 14-year cognac cask selection. I've had some spirits that I really liked that were finished in cognac and some that I really didn't. So we'll see how this one goes. Then we have the Glenlivet, the French Oak Reserve, 15 years of age in French oak casks. That is going to be something special.
That's going to be good.
And then last, but certainly not least, the Glenlivet single malt Scotch whiskey, 18 years. 18 years of age, distilled at the Glenlivet Distillery. I'm looking forward to this, folks. So first and foremost, let's start off with the shot glasses first for the 12.
All right.
Let's save these nicer, bigger glasses to get a better nose on them.
Okay.
So there you are.
Fair enough.
These,
yes, between the three of us, we were splitting a shooter, so we aren't shit-faced at the end of this.
Yes, yes. Starting with the Glenlivet, 12-year.
All right.
Make it a little easier. Just
right
there.
Yeah, you can't really afford to spill any of that.
Start sponsoring us. We'll get drunk for you.
He's thinking.
I mean,
this guy's going places.
Let me renew my insurance.
After they watch this.
I don't even have eye insurance on my car.
All right.
Car doesn't have eyes.
It's a great line from Trailer Park Boys. I don't even have eye insurance on my car. So, all right, we're doing the Glenlivet 12 years first. We're going to, now, Jermz, the way we do it, we're going to give it the nose, the palate, and we're going to judge it on 3 different scales. Actually, technically 4. Single malt Scotch, Scotch, brown spirits, and then, last, would you put this on your top, middle, or bottom shelf? So, and we're going to do that with each of these whiskeys. So first, hit the nose.
Familiar smell, but I'm familiar with this.
Scotch.
It's got that scotchy familiarity scent plus a sweetness that's not specifically honey. I'm not going there already. No.
That is kind of the easiest one. I'm smelling honey.
Honey.
Everything's honey.
You can say so.
But
I'm
so familiar with it.
I'm getting a graininess. That's.
Yep, absolutely with this one.
I get the smell.
All right.
And wood. All right, gentlemen.
Yeah. That's good. God, that's good. So
barley.
Yeah, you definitely get a lot of grain with this one. Like you said, you can smell it, but it's a lot more potent on the tongue. That sweetness is there, and I'm trying to put my finger on it, but It's that lingering sweetness that I just, it's some sort of candy, and I don't want to say like butterscotch. It's so close. I can still taste it. This one doesn't linger on the back of your throat. You get that Scotch bite. It's very subtle for a Scotch, and then it dissipates. And it doesn't stay in your throat too long, which is nice. And it leaves you wanting more. But yeah, the sweetness is just right there, right out of the gate, the sweetness.
Yeah, sweetness, not bitter.
No.
Bitter.
And that's the nice thing about Glenlivet. Like this is
subtle sweet. I think it's a palate.
thank you, sir. Good call. Good call. What do you take away from the taste, Phil?
A lot of grain.
In a bad way or a good way?
Good way. Good way. I always got to be careful because there you go, Jermz. There you go, Tony. And, you know, this one was
He must have roofed you down.
a gift from somebody. I'm going to say it's tough to, when you're getting a lot of grain in that.
You usually go with
the
a Milo. And you know what? That was my first thought.
Yeah. Well, really it's because, you know, I just remember when I went to Milo days when I was a teenager, and, you know, you'd have the Milo pancakes and you just feel like you're chewing on like oatmeal cake. You know what I mean? It's like
Sorghum for the rest of the nation.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you know what? That needed to be said.
Yeah, yeah. Trust me, they don't know. Now,
let's rate it.
Single malt Scotch. Tony G. 1 to 5 stars, and anywhere in between.
This is so difficult because this is one that I've bought so many bottles of this over the years. It's kind of been my go-to brand. This specific 12 has been my go-to brand.
Still on my tongue.
And I love it, but I've had so many different scotches in since I've last picked up a bottle of this. So now my palate's a bit more expanded. So I'm going to give this on a Scotch level 3.5.
3.5 stars on Scotch or single malt?
Well, are we doing both?
All three.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Single malt, sir.
On a
We
Scotch.
already know what he rates in a Scotch.
Okay. Yeah. Just as a Scotch, 3.5. On a single malt, actually, I'm going to go the same, 3.5.
3.5.
Yep.
Jermz. I'll give you both at the moment. Single malt and then as a Scotch in general.
As a Scotch, I don't know. Sweet, not bitter. I don't know. I would say 3.5. That's fair.
As a single malt.
Single malts, I don't know. It's a bigger category. It's 3. I think 3's fair.
There you go.
3. Okay. As a single malt, yeah, I'm going to agree with you. It's a good. Actually, I'm going to split the difference between the two of you. 3.25.
There you go. Then we average it. We average it 3.25.
Single malt. As a Scotch, this would be an excellent Scotch to introduce someone to Scotch with. Like if you sitting down with somebody that's never had Scotch before.
Yeah.
This would be a pretty good one to sit them down with.
Every time you've said that, this is the specific kind that I would actually use to introduce somebody to a good Scotch.
Okay, because I use, now my purse will be Oban 14 or Cardew 12.
So high up there.
Oh, but they're so good up there.
Yeah.
Non-exotic.
Yeah,
There you
these are
go.
not exotic, easy to find.
Yeah, Glenlivet's easy
great
to find.
way to introduce someone to the idea of single malt Scotch. Now, as a Scotch, 3, not quite there yet, sir. 3.5.
I was just getting everything right.
I know you're so eager.
I am.
I'm gonna have to go with 3.5 as a Scotch.
Okay.
Now, as brown spirit in general, this is compared to all bourbons, whiskeys, cognacs, armagnacs, brandies, the world over.
3.25.
3.25.
We're doing
Yep.
3/4. No, I'm going to go 2.75 then.
2.75. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Jermz does have a refined palate when it comes to liqueurs and liquor, not necessarily liqueur.
Well, if you can say Milo, we can say booze.
That's fair.
True. I'm gonna go with a solid 3 as
Okay.
brown spirit. You could do a lot worse
Oh,
than
God,
Glenlivet
yes.
12.
So
and
much worse.
Now,
than
the
this.
last metric, gentlemen, as As you can see over there, I got 3 shelves: top shelf, middle shelf, bottom shelf. If you're going to put this Glenlivet on your personal bottom, middle, or top shelf,
Nothing is going to be on the bottom shelf. I'll just let that cat out of the bag now.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So, all right. I think we're all kind of in agreement. Tell me if I'm wrong here. This would be an excellent middle shelf scotch.
To the front.
Yep, to the front of the middle shelf. All right.
Yeah, I would put any Glenlivet on the top, but if I needed to make room at the top, this would definitely move down first.
Okay.
Out of any of these.
That's fair. And we will put.
Here, I'll just put it right in the front.
Yep.
There we go.
All right. Now we're moving on
One
to
down.
Glenlivet Founders Reserve Single Malt Scotch Whiskey, or whiskey.
Whiskey.
American Oak Selection. Ooh, interesting.
Yes.
Now,
I think you'll enjoy this one.
it doesn't note that it's from old bourbon barrels. It's from American Oak, though. That's interesting. They decided to make such a distinction.
This is one I've gotten lucky to find multiple times on sale. I don't know if that's just because the liquor store bought an abundance of it or if it just hadn't been selling well. But personally, I really like this one.
Yep, there we go.
Happy?
Yep, we're
It
happy.
knows.
All right. Glenlivet Founders Reserve. Okay. Yep, getting a lot more subtly sweet, a little bit of caramel,
Yes.
like a toffee.
Yes. That's the word I was trying to find.
Huh.
Yeah, not
I love the woods.
Yep, you're getting wood in there, but like
not an oak, maybe more of a piney. Personally, I'm
now
getting
this is gonna sound like
pine.
a weird smell, but like imagine like a oak that you'd smeared like some toffee or molasses on,
Okay.
and it got just a little toasted in the fire. That's what I know it's very specific and very weird, but that's immediately what, it's like slightly burnt molasses on, but not like burnt, but slightly caramelized molasses on oak wood.
Let's try her. I love this one.
Mm-hmm.
I already know what I'm thinking.
Some kind of candy in there. I'm trying to grab it, but I can't. Am I off on that? There's some kind of candy in there. All the stuff I described on the nose, and then something else. I'll let you take it, Tony. You seem to.
This one, like you said, a toffee is a good toffee caramel type candy. For me, the texture of this, plus the flavor, very buttery. And then you get a little bit of that wood and a little bit of floral. This one, I think, has got a lot of complex flavors in it.
Like a butterscotch or butterbrickle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
I'm not nailing the. It's sweet, but I'm not nailing the candy aspect to it. I've got sweet. And the wood. The wood. I love the smell. I love the taste.
Yeah. I think this one's so complex. That's why I've always gone back to this one, because it's so diverse in its flavors and scent. I love that one.
Good wood bite on the back of your tongue.
Yeah, and
you got to get it back there, not up front.
And none of these linger at all
right.
in a bad way.
Now, before we take any more palate cleansers, you're empty. Same scales.
On a single malt, I give this I'm actually going to say 3.5 with this one as well.
3.75.
I agree with Jermz here. 3.75 as a single malt. Now, as a scotch in general.
I'm trying to leave some room for improvement, and that's the problem because we've got 3 more to go.
Yeah.
You know what? No, you're right. I need to be fair. 3.75. I do like this one just slightly more than the
As a general scotch. Okay.
Yeah, 3.75.
I have a bad habit of not knowing the difference between the scotch, the
Single malt.
Yeah.
Single malt scotch is basically it comes from one distillery, one grain batch of single malt barley makes up that. Scotch can be blended. It can be single malt. It can be a lot like Johnny Walker blends. Those are scotch.
I got Excuse me, I guess I wasn't
So-
saying that. I know the description. I
We
don't
are-
have much. I don't have much.
And so we
To
are
compare it to.
discerning.
Experience.
I mean, he's no king of extreme. I mean, I get it. I mean,
No.
so
Done.
I mean, I am the Michael Jordan of podcasting. So
Yeah, but even Jordan needed Pip.
Ooh.
and that's my Tony G right here.
Okay.
So what's the next twist? Oh,
Oh no,
that you're gonna pass to me, Pippin.
back on track.
Okay, yes.
Scotch, 375. Just like you said, this is only the third that I've done with you guys. So I'm leaving myself room
There you go.
and to adjust.
Fair enough.
Call me a snob, 3.5
Okay. Nope,
as
that's
a
fine.
Scotch.
That's fine.
It's good, but it's better as a single malt representation than an overall Scotch representation.
I agree with that.
And the American oak, really, now I'm really curious what the distinction between that and a bourbon barrel is, because it's not saying formerly used
Right.
bourbon barrel. So
On a-
usually they want to sell it as that.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right, as a brown spirit, just a plain old, you're needing a whiskey for the night.
I'm gonna give this a 3.5 because this one I like it neat. It's better with the splash of water. Ice kills it. Personally, that's my one experience with just a bunch of ice. I didn't like it that way. You wouldn't want to mix this. So
I can see that.
there you go.
I'm going to go 375 just because I enjoy the taste of the woods in these.
Okay.
I enjoyed the flavor a lot. It's a great single malt, but like Tony said, it would make a poor mix, in my opinion. And I'm sorry, Mr. Glenlivet Corporation. Mr. Glenlivet, I'm sure that's his name.
I don't think they had mixing in mind with this one.
You think his mother named him Mister?
Yes. I'm going to go 325 as a brown spirit, just a general brown spirit. All right. Next.
Glenlivet 14, and this is the cognac cask.
Ooh.
See, that's why I was so intrigued with these, because we go from 14 to 15. So, yeah,
And
this
it's in
is
cognac?
cognac cask
Oh.
selection.
Yeah.
Selection.
I got quite a collection of cognac over there, so I'm a lover of all product of the vino.
Sounds good.
Boy, feels like you really get a lot out of these little guys.
My cup runneth over. All right, cognac. In Vino Veritas. Oh, yeah. Hit that immediately.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you definitely get that.
I'm just going to.
That's all I'm smelling.
It's going to be the sweetest of the night.
Yeah, I think you're right. Wow. And I'm a little stuffed up from work today, and wow.
I can't get past it.
A little floral.
But mostly cognac.
Yeah,
That's
mostly
all-
just
that's
cognac.
all
I
I'm-
can't get past it.
But
Yeah, that's-
as a guy that loves him some cognac, I don't mind that just being there.
Yeah.
So,
No,
folks,
yeah, there's so much worse
Like
of a
your
smell than cognac. Oh, what a shame.
Like Milo.
Like Milo.
a
Sorghum.
little different.
Oh, here. Sorry, guys.
Ugh.
Shit. All right.
I'm thirsty over it.
Mm. Grainy cognac.
Yeah,
And it's not like they just added cognac into
no.
like this is done
Oh,
right.
wow.
This is done right.
Yeah.
You pulled,
And there's that whiskey burn on the back of your tongue at the end of it, but it's so slight.
I pulled the cognac into it.
Yes.
Yeah, the taste, yeah. You definitely
That's
get that. But what I'm getting the most is like that feeling you get after a dry wine, a dry red swishing around your mouth. It hits your palate and it stays in your mouth a
Like
certain
a
way.
really dry Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting in my mouth.
Yeah, I can really see that.
But it dissipates in the back of your throat, I think, faster than these two did.
This lingers.
Yeah.
This lingers.
It lingers on my
This-
mouth, but my throat, it was gone instantly.
Yeah, it's not in my throat anymore, but yeah, it's still on my tongue.
Which is fine.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
fine.
Oh, what a shame! What a shame.
So
I like it. I do. I'm
interesting.
surprised. I didn't think I might not enjoy this
Okay.
one as much as I did.
Now my score is going to be all over the place. On
Okay.
this one, but that and, I don't think we even said on the last one shelving. I think we all pretty much agree this is either top or middle shelf for the 14 year.
Oh,
I think he almost covered that one the first one. None of these are dropping.
Yeah,
I would. Okay, just shelving. We'll just hit that right now. I would say I would put this on the top shelf because it's a 14 for one.
Yeah.
It's a well-known name and it's a interesting flavor. So I would put that on the top shelf.
I agree. It would be a top shelf for me, and I could actually see myself picking up a bottle of this.
Yep. Okay.
Now,
Scotch. We need to hit
single malt.
Yes, the single
malt.
Single, then Scotch, then brown. Okay.
All right, and I'm going to be all over the place on this one, but I'm going to let you guys start it off. I mean, here at the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, we like to say the best lines. So,
as a single malt, I'm actually going to give this a 3.25.
Interesting.
I'm doing that because it's such a
cognac-y.
Yeah, it's very cognac-y. So it doesn't really scream single malt.
It does make it hard to say it's a true single malt Scotch when it's from barrels from cognac.
That's
France.
my thinking.
I understand.
Same with the American wood in the
Yes. It does hurt the purist, if you will.
Yeah.
So what do you give it as a single malt Scotch?
325 sounds right.
325
sounds right.
As a single malt Scotch, despite the fact that it's married to something else, just the way it's very hard to pull off cognac cask maturation. 375.
Okay.
3.75 and single malt Scotch. Now,
Scotch in general, I'm actually going to go with the 3.75 because it's got a distinct flavor and gimmick, if you will. And I think that goes a long way into talking about it, sharing it with somebody, and pouring someone a glass. Like, it has a good story, it has a good gimmick, it has a good taste in those. So 3.75 for me on Scotch.
I'm gonna go 3.5, just 3.5 even. I do like it smooth. Even with everything that we added to
I
it.
might get a bottle of this if I find it on sale.
3.5.
I'm gonna agree with Tony. 375. Excellent Scotch. Now this is gonna be an interesting one. Brown spirits.
3.
Interesting.
3.5.
3.5. 4 stars.
Wow.
4 stars as just a brown spirit,
Wow.
as a Scotch with a second maturation in a cognac cask. Marvelous example of that. I've seen a lot of spirits that did not go well in a cognac cask, and this one pulled it off right.
Yeah, the wine.
There you go. Okay, that's interesting. Kind of all over the board there.
Like I said, I'm all over the board there.
Yeah.
375, 375 for single malt and Scotch, but just as a brown spirit, spectacular.
Okay. I can see you can make the argument either way.
It transcends the Scotch genre, if you will.
It jumps classes.
That's fair.
All righty.
Yes.
Now we're getting into some of the heavy hitters here and some of the minimally watered glasses.
Yes. The Glenlivet 15.
Oh my.
I've been eager for this one. Oh, yes.
"15 years maturation." I like that word. I don't get to use it very often. Maturation.
Indeed.
15 years in any specialty casks. French oak.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
15 years in French oak.
Oh, yeah, you don't even have to say that. Yep, oaky. Not in a bad way. Sweet.
I wouldn't have been able to tell
Sweet.
French oak on the.
No.
Yeah,
It's like, all right, Tony.
Oh, clearly from the eastern side of France.
God.
God, that's sweet, though. Oh, my
We're only
goodness.
the squirrels.
That might be the sugariest smelling one yet. I think that's the sweetest smelling of the 4 we've tried, or are about to try.
You get sweet. I almost get bitter out of that.
Really?
Bitter?
It hides behind the sweetness, but it's there.
It could be.
Boy, I got to put my nose right up to it to get the bitter, but
Maybe I'm too far in.
I took a huge whiff, though, and I got it. But, yeah, it's there. Okay.
sweet.
Sweet and bitter.
Like, I know you hate to say honey, but it's a honeyish sweet.
All Glenlivet's going to have that honey too.
I know
It's
you
just-
hate
it's
to
there.
say it. It's kind of like you know, if you're drinking wine, you don't know what to say apples. They're like, oh yeah, you're spelling
I would
apples.
say grape.
Yeah, it's got a great grape flavor.
Yeah.
But well, let's see how 15 years in a French oak cask treated the Scotch. Hmm.
Oh,
Grain and wood. Grain and wood.
I was going to say a buttery texture, and
Yes.
then the wood on the end. Yes.
It's better on my tongue than my nose.
Oh
Yeah, because like you said, it's very smooth on the tongue. There's no burn there.
no,
Now we are whiskey 4 in, but
no.
but yeah, I could. This is good stuff.
I like it. I really like that. I love that buttery sweetness, and then the oak wood hits you, and this one lingers a bit on the back of your tongue in a good way.
But don't you like now that you've had it in your mouth?
Mm.
Go back to the nose.
Yeah, no, I can.
Are you not picking up some more grain now?
Yeah.
Like
Once you add the sweet to the tongue, yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
Now, Tony, it's not very fair for you and I. We work with grain
Yeah.
every day, so
That is a good one. For me, though, on a single malt, I am going to give that a 3.75.
3.75
Yes.
for single malt Scotch.
Yes.
Jermz
3.5.
3.5.
3.5.
You uncultured heathens. 4 stars
Okay.
as a single malt Scotch. As Scotch in general.
I'm gonna give this a 4
4. All right, you're getting better.
because this one has such a blatant Scotch taste. You get the honey, you get the butter, you get the wood, you get the slight burn. It hits in all the major categories for a Scotch, and I think it knocks it out of the park on all those, just in the Scotch in general.
Scotch. Again, not my category, but about 3.75.
3.75 as a Scotch. Torn between 4 and 4.25 as a Scotch.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 4.
Okay. Yeah.
But know that I am very impressed with you, French oak cask, 15-year Glenlivet. Let Mr. Glenlivet know. In terms of brown spirits,
I'm gonna go 3.75.
3.75.
I'm gonna agree. 3.75. It's an excellent brown spirit, but I could see how it's an acquired taste for some.
Yeah, this would be a great introduction to Scotch if you had a big budget, because you're going to introduce people to what a good Scotch is going to taste like, and this is a good Scotch.
That's one that,
Kind of what you're doing with me tonight.
There you
yes,
go.
if I could find it on sale, that would be one.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely,
Okay.
and that would look good on a top shelf
Yeah, wait list.
for me.
Oh yeah, that's a top shelf.
That's a top
All
shelf.
right, any dispute to that being a top shelf?
No.
Okay.
And I don't even think we need to say it even before we even nose this or sample it, but I'm guessing that 18 is always going to be on a top shelf, just in number alone.
Even
and
if you
name
just
alone.
want to, just flex brag.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
gonna be like
much.
18, which I don't know what this costs. I'm sure it's not free.
No, this one would not be.
Oh, I will let you pour the 18-year Glenlivet.
Get it closer so I don't spill any of this.
Oh my God.
Here we go. Does it look even? Ish.
There we go. Yeah, close.
There you go.
All right.
Thick knob will catch up after the.
Fair enough.
We'll get there. Don't worry. So,
Excuse me. Anything specific about this
18
one?
years in an oak cask.
Yeah,
What
that's-
else do you need?
Yeah, I would say I don't think there's any other gimmick on this one. This is just 18. This one's legal, folks.
It
Oh,
can-
wow.
It can vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
That's going to be my choice.
overwhelmingly Scotch in all the good ways.
Yep.
You get,
I'm
peat's
getting a lot
not the
of.
right word. But it's something like that.
I'm getting a sweetness, a buttery sweetness on the nose here.
I'm getting like butter melted over grain wheat.
Yeah.
I know. My smells are some of the weirdest things you're ever gonna.
No,
No, it smells amazing.
Like, imagine if you were melt butter over like just wheat that you put in the microwave.
I think that's.
you smell tobacco?
Is that not the tobacco?
Like a
Yeah,
straight,
In the wood.
like a straight.
In the wood,
Yeah.
yes. There's.
Yep.
Just
Those of you who have ever chewed Skull straight, yeah, that's
Well,
what I'm
you're
smelling.
gonna have to
That
inform
pussy's
me.
still-
I've never been one to take a chaw. That's the one part I'm not an atypical Nebraska.
Well,
I've never been a chaw man.
No, you know what always pissed me off about that line?
More leaf, though. I'm not talking.
What always pissed me off about that line was he says that, but then he's chewing
Chew
Skull
Skull.
later. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Not everybody could.
Bird walk, but no. Smell wise, this is the best one out of the 5.
I love it.
Complex. You could spend like if you're gonna sip on
You could tear
glass
this
all
apart.
night. Yeah, you could just spend all night trying to deconstruct it.
If you wanna spend some time alone sipping Scotch, you're basically on a date with this bottle. All right, I
Put it
can't.
down.
Yeah, I gotta taste this.
Mm.
Mm. Smoky
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
in a good way.
that's where the tobacco is.
Smoke
Yep.
is always good.
It's in the smoke.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And that's going to influence.
That
This would go great
sweetness.
with a cigar.
Glad you brought that up.
I'm not even much of a cigar smoker anymore, and
Mm.
that would go good with one.
Oh my.
Yes.
Now, I got the general rule of, if you're gonna smoke a cigar, make it at least $5 or more. But
Yeah. Well, you sure?
you only live so long. The
That's not
doctor's
a-
eventually gonna tell you to quit smoking.
That's not a
cigars, so enjoy.
butterscotch sweetness. That's
No.
something entirely different.
It's not refined.
It's no. Oh my goodness.
It's not. Refined.
It's a subtle. It's a sweetness in a almost a salty way, like a salty sweet, and then you get that wood flavor, and then it lingers on your tongue in a really nice way, and you get that smokiness. And I'll be frank, I'm not usually a big fan of that heavy smoke, but this one does it right.
Yeah, I like the smoky. You're a fan of the more minty. I like the smoky. This one, yeah, this is great.
Mm.
Oh my God!
I
Now,
like-
gentlemen, this is gonna be tough.
This
Okay.
one is.
Single malt Scotch. 1 to 5 stars.
That's a 4.
Yes.
That is a 4.
Yes, it is.
Everything I said about this one, how it hits on all the different things you want out of a good Scotch, it does that. Plus,
Molasses. That's
There
the
you go.
sweet. It's molasses.
Yep.
there you go. This one does all that, plus the smokiness in a good way. So, yeah, 4.
I'm always going to lean to a smoky flavor. Four's right.
Single malt
I
Scotch.
might actually like Lafrogue.
You guys are a bunch of heathens and
Oh my God.
ne'er-do-wells. As a single malt, this is 375 or 475. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
wow. Okay. I thought you were going
Misspoke.
375.
No, this is an excellent single malt. 18 years, like
Oh.
molasses sweetness and smoky tongue. Yes, this is I need to stop saying 475. I will get it right.
Wow. On a Scotch scale, I'm going to give this a 4.25.
425.
Yes.
I'm going to give it a 4. I haven't given 4s all night.
Okay.
But I'm going to give this a 4.
As a Scotch, as just regular old, good old mother's milk Scotch. 4.5.
Fair.
Fine,
Mm.
fine Scotch here. As a brown spirit gentleman,
4 1/4.
4 1/4.
4.0.
4 across the board for Jermz, who is infamously hard to please.
Five's big. Five's big.
Yeah.
As a brown spirit, 4.25, 4.25,
There you
Lake
go.
County. Now, gentlemen, is there any dispute as to what shelf this sits on? Top shelf.
Top middle.
Top shelf.
Top middle.
Top in the middle.
In the middle of the top shelf, folks.
Ooh.
That's about the best
It's about
placement
say.
you can give.
I
That's so far my bar on.
I have
box,
like
so.
alcohol that's either sentimental or that I'm really looking forward to. That's in my top middle. So
All right.
yeah,
We did it.
It's on my top shelf. This has been the flight of Glenlivet.
And that is one we've been eager to do, and
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that a lot.
That was
Phil picked up those 3. I had the 2. This couldn't have worked out better.
More to come.
Oh, much more to come, folks. But as I'm known to say around here, all that being said, folks, I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, signing off and handing it off to my indomitable broadcast partners.
The gassed Tony G.
And the still nameless Jermz.
I like how your name was, but that happened.
The nameless is my name.
Oh, okay. All right. Wait, what?
We'll let you figure that
Yeah,
one
you
out.
figure that in the comments.
Kind of like
folks.
lone wolves.
Oh, boy.
Okay, all right.
So, folks, and to all the folks at the Glenlivet factory, distillery, and all the folks involved in the
That was great.
creation of this marvelous spirit from across the pond, couple of 3 Yanks. Thank you much, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude.